go. All right, welcome back to our webinar. I'm just gonna share screen here. So we have Daniel Harlow and myself. Thank you again, Daniel, for joining. This one is a hot topic for me. I know I've had a lot of clients that have had damaged metabolism. I myself have had a damaged metabolism, had to fix it. So I do find this one is kind of near and dear to my heart, and results. And just so many people have tried to diet the wrong way and found themselves in this bit of a mess. So I'm pretty excited to talk about this topic today. So thank you for joining. Yeah, damaged metabolisms and how to fix them. There we go. So the main things that can cause the damaged metabolism is not eating enough calories, so being in a severe deficit for too long. And when I say too long, I'm talking like 6 months, not like a few weeks, dieting really hard to like go on that beach vacation. That's not going to damage the metabolism. But when you keep at that really low intake for too long, your body is going to adapt to that and only burn so many calories at their base rate. So when we say BMR, we're talking basal metabolic rate, which means in your day doing nothing, that is your baseline of your calorie burn. That's what you're burning on a day-to-day basis, doing nothing, just eating, breathing, your normal things. Not being active enough to maintain your BMR. So if you're becoming very sedentary and not being as active, even just walking around getting steps for the day, or of course getting your workouts in, all of those things are going to help increase your basal metabolic rate because you're keeping your calorie burn higher. So when your lifestyle adjusts a little bit and you become more sedentary on a daily basis, that's going to decrease your metabolic rate as well. And this one, a lot of people are not as familiar with, but eating empty calorie foods. So when I say empty calorie foods, I mean foods that don't have nutrients, so our body isn't going to use them. Things like protein are harder to break down and digest, so the body actually uses more calories to digest them, absorb them, and use them because our body needs those things. Carbs, fats, those are still good calories as well, and the body will work hard to digest and absorb them and use them for bodily functions that we need to do on a daily basis. So eating empty calorie foods is like that chocolate bar, because there's really just sugars in them, and I'm going to assume the general population doesn't need that much sugar. If you're doing it for a specific reason, I know in my past, competition day, you're backstage and you need that sugar because you haven't had sugar in months at this point, and then you need some sugar to get that pump so your muscles pop up a little bit more. That's a specific reason, and I will speak from experience again that like one bite and I'm like, oh my God, I can't eat this. So it's not even like I'm eating a lot of it, but that's a specific situation. But when you're eating potato chips or crackers that are just pure starch, you don't need it, and you probably get to the point where you eat too much and it's just excess and it's not doing anything. It's not feeding nutrients that your body needs at that point, and your body is not really doing much for it. So those are kind of the three main things that can really cause a damaged metabolism. So going on to the next part. So what to do if you think you've damaged your metabolism. Now, this one I always like to pre-frame a little bit, because some people think that they don't eat a lot because they don't eat often. But when you track your food and actually see the intake of calories, you may actually still be eating a large amount of calories, but just not as often. So in like 1 or 2 really big meals, you're taking in a lot of calories. So that's why you're not losing weight necessarily. Or maybe you do have a damaged metabolism and that is the case. So the first thing I always say is track your food consistently and super accurately for at least a month. and actually see how many calories you're taking in, regardless of how often you're eating, because that doesn't always make a difference. And then the second part is, of course, if you're noticing you're eating like, less than 1,000 calories and you're either gaining or not able to lose weight, then go to your doctor, get some tests done, because it is a possibility that you do have some type of condition. You could have some metabolic damage. You could have a hormonal imbalance. There could be something underlying going on inside that you need to get fixed. So you might need some medication to balance things out in your body. So go to the doctor and find out for sure what's going on inside. And if everything comes back and everything seems fine, then let's take a look at this whole metabolism and see if we can fix it. Daniel, I don't know if you have anything to add on to that at all.
Yeah, I mean, these are really, really good points, especially the nutrients part. Something being nutrient dense enough. I know I have these conversations all the time with individuals, because when a lot of people are thinking about what they're putting into their body, they're not really thinking about like actually what they're putting into their body. They're not thinking about whether it's nutrient dense enough for their body to absorb it and actually do something with it, or if they're really just putting, like you said, empty calories into their body, and what their body's actually doing with that, if anything. And so these are huge points right here, because metabolism is the foundation of what is gonna, get you where you want to go. I mean, firing up that metabolism, having it work properly. We have talked a lot about, like, other ways of getting to your goals, obviously, but the metabolism is the central piece of that. And so having knowledge of, like, or knowing what is nutrient dense enough, what is empty calories, how it affects your metabolism, and warning signs as to if you're doing everything right, or you think you're doing everything right, but still you're not really noticing any changes. Like, these are good warning signs so that you can get on top of that sooner rather than later.
And I forgot to add with the whole empty calories. So rule of thumb is, if you're eating a food in its most natural form, there's probably a good amount of nutrients in it. I get that question. What are nutrient dense foods? The less processing they've been through, the better. So stay away from like packages. The outside of the grocery store is usually a good one. I tell my clients, because it's more natural forms. So that is my little tidbit for staying away from empty calorie foods.
I actually just thought of the topic for our next webinar just now, but like it all centers around like nutrient dense substances. So this is perfect. But every point that you've made so far is like hitting the nail on the head.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so how to fix if you're at a calorie deficit. So if you've been eating not enough calories, and I'm talking like severely low calories for too long, then your body has made that adjustment and adapted to trying to preserve as much nutrients as it can. So it's holding on to every little calorie, and it's doing the bare minimum work it needs to survive. So our metabolism has dropped quite a bit because of that, meaning that just taking in that 900 calories, you're able to function now, which we don't want that. We want to really rev that up, boost that metabolism. So here are a few things that we kind of go through. So tracking, like I said, track your intake accurately and consistently for at least a month to establish what your basal metabolic rate is. So if you're at a calorie intake where you're not seeing changes, that's your basal metabolic rate, which means you're not gaining, you're not losing. So however many calories that is now your basal metabolic rate. I will share a little bit for myself, as I got to a point where it was around 900 to 1,000 calories, and that was my basal metabolic rate, which is dangerously low because it's hard to get enough nutrients. So it took me a long time to fix that, and I'm going to share again how I did that. But your body adapts. That is what we're made to do to survive. So the next thing we need to do is we need to increase the activity and the calories to remain in balance. So we're actually going to increase both together. So let's say your basal metabolic rate is down to like 1,200. We want to increase the activity and the calories together so that you're still in balance, but your body is going to adjust to needing more calories to survive and function on a daily basis. So this is where it is a very long process. I want to be very upfront that it takes about 6 to 12 months to fix your metabolism, and you need to work hard and follow these steps, because if you and it's a very hard mentally thing. I'm going to share that too. Mentally, it's really hard because you're afraid to eat more calories because you don't want to gain weight. But that's why the exercise and calorie intake. So we're going to increase about, maybe 200, 250 calories in exercise, and then increase it in the food as well. So we're staying a balance. You shouldn't gain. You might gain a couple because maybe you're building some muscle during this time, but we want to keep it a balance, but keep increasing it, increasing it, increasing it. So like I said, you're going to maintain that weight during this time, and you might even gain a little bit, but you have to be okay with that and understand that that's necessary to boost that metabolism. And of course, as we get older, our metabolism slows down naturally because we're losing muscle mass. So it's really important to get this done as soon as you can, to make sure we can fix that. So continuing to increase your lean body mass. So that's where the resistance training is going to come in, because that's going to boost your metabolic rate. Daniel's going to talk about that in a minute. Once you're at a healthy BMR, so a happy medium place where you're like, you know what, this is a good amount of calories that I can get through the day. I can enjoy some things, but I feel good with this amount of nutrients intake and exercise, where it's something you can easily maintain. So when you get to that point where you're at a good place and you're like, I like this spot, I actually like to even aim a little higher in the calories at this point, because if you are looking to lose weight, of course, you're actually going to start decreasing the calories from this point. So you want to get that basal metabolic rate up a little higher. And then we're going to start to decrease calories and increase activity. And that's why I was saying you want to get to a nice balance point where you're not like doing crazy workouts every day to get to that balance. You want it to be something like, maybe 3 or 4 days a week, maybe 3 days, whatever works for you, of course. But usually around that 3 days a week is a good kind of maintenance spot, where if you're really busy and you don't get the workout in, it's not the end of the world. You're not going to suddenly gain a bunch of weight or anything like that. So we want to get to that healthy spot. And then from there, we're going to start to decrease the calories. And we want to do half and half. So a little bit from exercise, a little bit from your calories ingested. The same way we did the increase, we're going to do the decrease too. Usually, so rule of thumb here, we got 3,500 calories is 1 pound. So if we're decreasing, if we're at a deficit of 500 each day, that's a pound a week, which is a healthy place to be. It's usually easy to kind of transition through that. So, every week or two, we're decreasing about 250 from the food intake, 250 more of exercise. So we're getting a total of 500 calorie deficit per day. That is only if you're trying to lose weight. Keep that in mind. So like I said, it's going to take about 6 to 12 months to really get through this whole process and get you to a healthy place again. So you have to be patient, and you have to really stick through this process in order to get to the point where you can eat things and not be afraid you're going to gain weight like that. So Daniel, do you want to take it away? I know we're talking about the whole exercise. So this is a huge part to increase that basal metabolic rate through resistance training.
Yeah, and I mean, and to just add some notes from the previous page too, a lot of what we're talking about here is going to be extreme. I want to argue it's going to be tough physically, but the harder part is going to be mentally, when you have to train your mind to believe that every little thing that you're doing right here is going a long way to fixing this damaged problem, and it's going to take time. Again, everyone has in their own mind, how they feel, and that's different from how people perceive us, right? So just keep in mind that body image is going to play a key role into this, how you're feeling, but more importantly, the mental component. So really, we can't stress enough, have patience with this. It is totally fixable. You can totally get back on the right track. but how you're going to feel versus how how you're actually going to be seen is going to be very different. And again, it's very easy to feel like one little thing that you do ruins your entire progress. That's 1000% mental. So I just want to stress that part, because the mental component in this is very difficult and does take a lot of patience to overcome. But again, if you allow yourself the chance to do that, then you will overcome it. And there is definitely the light is on the other side, so to speak. And but at transitioning right into, like, again, the mental component, but exercise too. So all these things go into metabolism, and resistance and training to build lean muscle is a huge part of that. Now, Nikki just talked about numbers in terms of, like, losing a pound, in like the numbers around that, and calories burned and whatnot. So let's throw out some quick numbers here. So when you're talking about building and increasing lean muscle, this is absolutely going to go into what we call like a second metabolism. So you got your, metabolic rate that your body, has on a daily basis. That's part of your genetics and just part of your biology, right? Then you got your second metabolism. That is lean muscle. So lean muscle is so important and crucial because it will burn calories at rest. What do we mean by that? When you are resistance training, and I'm not talking about cardio here per se, but you can think of cardio as, depending on how you're doing your cardio, as resistance training. But what I'm really talking about is, literally using your body or using weights, or a combination of both, in order to increase the lean muscle mass on your body. And cardio will burn calories as you're doing the actual activity, but when you're building lean muscle, when you stop your workout, let's just say it's 15 to 30 minutes or longer, but when you're going about your day, you're going to have lean muscle that's burning calories for you at rest when you're not actually doing the physical exercise. And this is extremely important, because if you get to the point, which is so possible for men and women, where you put 10 pounds of lean muscle on your body, you're going to be burning 3,500 calories, like within a week. And that equals 1 pound. So over the course of, a month, you could be losing, 4 pounds just by having lean muscle on your body. So having that second metabolism to help, fix the first metabolism on your body. This is why we always talk about resistance training as being like a key component, and why it's so important to have some sort of exercise that's not just cardio in, your daily life. And again, as you get older, you do start to lose, lean muscle on your body. So if you're not active, like not resistance training in some capacity, this puts you at a significant disadvantage. And especially as you get older and your metabolism, your biological metabolism is slowing down. This is why it's so crucial to have that lean muscle on your body to act as A, the second metabolism, B, just for posture, C, just for making sure that you have better balance and better, agility and flexibility. I mean, all of these things are why resistance training is so important. And keep in mind, you can do all different types of resistance training to keep it fun, and you don't have to go crazy with it. There are some people like myself who I generally work out 5 days a week, because I have found that's where I'm feeling my absolute best. Now, I do a lot of things. I have a growing family at home, and so I also find that resistance training really does. I was actually talking to Nikki, like I was at a wedding last night, and running around with little kids, you need energy. You're throwing them up in the air. They're like, wanting to play games with you. If you have kids or grandkids or know someone with kids, it's a nonstop 24/7 game. And so having exercise 5 days a week in my life is like the perfect balance for me. I sleep my best. I feel my best energy during the day. And I know that my flexibility and just being able to do the things that are necessary in my daily life are made possible by that. But that doesn't mean that's the perfect balance for you. And so just find what works best for you. But we're encouraging you to do something, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to go 5 days a week at the very beginning. You can start a little bit slower than that, but find your core balance, and that's really what resistance training is all about. Making sure your body can recover, making sure you go at the proper speed, but making sure you realize why you're doing it in the first place. You may not even really enjoy it, although they do say once you get into the rhythm, exercise is extremely addicting. I mean, it's how Nikki and I met in the first place. So there's so many benefits to it, and long-lasting friendships, and then leads to webinars and leads to, you know, powering the information to others. But the main point is, when it comes down to the metabolism, the metabolic rate, just keep those numbers in mind, because again, when you are doing resistance training and just incorporating, you know, the components to get the best workout in your day, it translates beyond your workout. And I think that's just really a crucial point to know, is everything that you're doing now will keep working for you even when you're done. So keep up, you know, just find yourself in a rhythm, incorporate it. You know, we talked about plyometrics on the last webinar. You can do, you know, your general weights, you know, your dumbbells and the actual equipment, and then obviously mix cardio into that. But really, that's, you know, everything that goes into incorporating the second metabolism is going to last you for years to come, and that will just be, you'll be happy to have that at the end of the day.
100%. And I love that you really touched on the mental aspect too, because that is a huge part of this. But also when you're doing your workouts, like you said, it's addicting, and it turns into a mental health thing too. Like you hit the hammer in the nail on the head.
Well, and not to go too much longer here, but we you know, we all know that there's, like, whether you're living in the United States, Canada, or another country, I mean, everyone talks about this every day, is mental health, depression, anxiety, you know, that topic. We'll create another webinar just for that too. We got many more topics to cover as we go along here. But exercise has been proven, and good nutrition has been proven to significantly help mental health and all those foundational elements. We'll go into that topic on another one, but that's a huge thing to note.
Yeah. So resistance training is a huge key factor in improving your basal metabolic rate. And then, you know, what we're getting into here is HIIT training. I know you touched on it a little bit there. So HIIT training, that high intensity interval training, is what that stands for. And this is more of the cardio aspect. This can be a blend of resistance training and cardio. You can do circuits to get that that spike in heart rate. So how this works, when you're doing resistance training, because your body is recovering the muscles, it also is increasing your Epoc. So Epoc is a term you might hear in the fitness industry. It stands for excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. What's
Say that 5 times fast.
I know, right? So what that means in a nutshell is your body has worked really, really hard for that, let's say, hour workout or 30-minute workout, and it's increased your heart rate. Your calorie burn is elevated quite a bit. And after the workout, it's taking time to come back to that resting rate. So depending on what type of intensity you're getting to and how long you're staying there, you can burn an increase of calories for up to 48 hours after the workout. I've seen some studies actually show even 72 hours. So by getting, you know, resistance training, but getting that heart rate up to close to your max, can help improve your calorie burn to stay elevated for longer. And that's why you see all these articles and studies on, you know, HIIT training is the best for fat loss, because you're really getting the most bang for your buck in that time, and it's going to increase your calorie burn continuously afterwards as well. So
your metabolism basically just blows up like that.
Exactly. I mean, I still say this. I always say, if you're gonna have that not so good meal or a little treat or whatever it is that you want, the best time to eat it is after a super intense workout. Yeah. Because your body's just gonna suck it all up. So it's
suck it all up. Yep.
Exactly. It's like you're at like a negative of calories. So anything you eat is just getting fed in there. So if you're gonna have that like not so good meal or a treat, that is the best time to do it. Holidays, I always get like
I
a
was
really
just going to say, it's like, I mean, this is why a lot of people flock to that, like, you know, early morning, like Thanksgiving workout before their main meal, like, or the same thing for like New Year's or whatever. But yeah, I mean, there's a reason behind that.
100%, 100%. I like to always get that Christmas morning workout.
Yeah. Make sure to wear
Um,
your hat and you're good to go.
yeah. So HIIT training can be cardio, it can be resistance training, can be a little bit of both. What you need to do though is basically get that heart rate up. And I don't want to get too sciencey, but basically when you're getting over that like 84, 85% of your max heart rate kind of thing, that's where you're going to start to get the benefit of this Epoc that we're talking about. So, 30-second sprints with that recovery, doing a few of those, plyometric training when you're doing like jump squats or any kind of explosive movement, you're using that, almost 100% capacity that you can do. So you're getting that 100% effort. And that's kind of what we're looking at. And that's going to look different for everybody. Maybe you're just walking on an incline, your heart rate gets up. That's still working. That's still getting into that HIIT training style. So basically, getting that combination of resistance training, so you're actually increasing your resting state, getting HIIT training so that you're getting more of Epoc, you're increasing your calorie burn for a longer period of time after your workout. I have some clients say, can I break up my cardio? Can I do some walks throughout the day? 100%. Every time you elevate your calorie burn, you elevate your heart rate, it can often stay up for a little bit. So the more of those spikes you get through the day and that increase in calorie burn, the better. Absolutely. Go for walks during the day. Break up your cardio if you're like, hey, I don't want to do an hour of cardio. I want to do like 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. And I'm not saying you have to do an hour of cardio every day. That's not what I'm saying. Just an example. Like Daniel was saying, everybody's balance is going to look different. Everybody's exercise is going to look different. Everybody's intensities are going to look different. Really, what we're saying is you just need to increase what you're currently doing. That's really the simple thing to say. And your body's going to adapt. And those simple things, or more intense things, I should say, are going to turn into simple things. And that's how you progress. Another little thing I always joke with my clients is they're like, oh my goodness, this is so hard. I'm like, it's going to get easier, but then I'm going to make it hard.
I love that.
Yeah. So I'm like, it's going to get easier, but I'm going to make it harder because that's what's going to continue to progress. So
well, one thing, I mean, because the mental part is so, there's such an emphasis on that. But one thing I always tell my clients as well, like kind of joking with them, but also being serious, is, I ask them how long, and you disclaimer, this part might not necessarily be for younger kids, but I ask them how long they like believed in Santa Claus, and and I say, you believed in Santa Claus for maybe like roughly 7 to 10 years, ballparking. And I just, I then ask them, if you believe in Santa Claus for 7 to 10 years, can you please believe in yourself for at least 7 to 10 minutes?
Oh, I love that. That's good. That's good. I love it. So at the end of the day, the best thing to do is just move, be active, increase from what you're currently doing, and go from there. That's really the end. But that resistance training to build the muscle, so you have more of a calorie burn sitting doing nothing, and then of course HIIT training, so you're getting that Epoc effect, are going to really like exponentially increase your results. So they are a huge factor in helping to improve your metabolism. And I don't know if you wanted to add anything else there, but that's all I got.
No, I mean, I really think that this segment like really did tune in on like, the metabolic part and the two sides to it. I mean, this is really crucial for people because, again, warning signs, if you have a broken metabolism, anything that's broken with exercise can be fixed, and that's just what we're here to educate about. And again, the mental part, we'll do another webinar specifically on that, but just basically believing in yourself and knowing that these things, I mean, we talk about this on a professional level because both, Nikki and I have experienced these things, and we're in the industry. And so it can happen to anyone. So don't think that just because, you started doing something and then you hit this roadblock, that it's a warning sign that, like, oh, I shouldn't have even bothered trying this. Like, I've already screwed up. It's like, no, this happens to a lot more people than you realize. And that's why we're doing these webinars, so that that just because you hit a block in the road, actually, really quick analogy, because I always use this with my clients too, especially in the beginning. So if you're driving down a highway, and this is like related to if you hit your first road bump with exercise and nutrition, let's just say you hit something on the road when you're driving from A to B, and you have to pull off the side of the road, you have a flat tire. You have two choices at that point, right? You can either get out of the car, change the spare, and drive to your destination and get there, and you might be a little delayed, but at least you got there. Or you can take out a knife and decide to slash the other three perfectly good tires and give up. Which one do you think is going to make the more rational choice to do? But this is so relevant to exercise and nutrition in general, because as you're getting started on like this journey where you're getting started and you're trying to get to a destination and a goal, like, you're going to hit road bumps. It's going to happen. It happens to everyone. It happens to me all the time. And so, but just think about that. Do you want to just give up and then not feel the best you can feel? Or you want to, just change that spare tire, or get right back on track with, your activities and your regimen, and get to where you want to be? So in my mind, the decision is obvious, but I always leave with that analogy.
Yeah. And I always tell my clients too that your fitness journey isn't going to do this. It's going to do this.
Yeah.
It's never so there's always ups and downs. That's just the way it is. But thank you everyone for tuning in. We'd love to hear your requests. I know we got a few ideas on this webinar for some of our next ones.
That's what happens when we start talking.
I know, right? So you can subscribe to the socials there. So Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, to stay up to date on everything. I do have a couple announcements too. If you haven't yet seen tips, tricks, and recipes for healthier eating, this is a really nice kind of starter to get a better understanding of how to just eat to be overall healthier. A lot of like tips, tricks, tools, resources, some recipes that are very simple. I'm super lazy in the kitchen, so these are super simple. But you can purchase this on my website as well. If you're local in the GTA Toronto area, free delivery, I can drop it off no problem. Otherwise, I can mail it out to you if you are a little further. And for the holiday season, I am also selling some fitness gift packs. So you can choose from a 1 session, 3 session, or 5 sessions that you can give away to a loved one. And they all include assessments. So my full assessments can range from weight measurements, body fat, cardio, everything, to kind of get an idea based on their goals and what they're trying to accomplish and what's best for them, but giving them a really good baseline to see where they're starting from and help them to establish a good plan to get them to their goal, whether they decide to continue working with me or to do it on their own, so they at least know how to get there. So we have the gift packs for sale. You'll see on my website the tips, tricks, and recipes for healthier eating. But yeah, so thanks so much.
We'll try and talk about how to make that available in the US.
I think actually it's still currently available in the US on Amazon.
Oh, is it? Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Thank you, everyone. Stop share. Perfect.